Welcome to the Investor Agent Synergy Podcast, where real estate investors and agents come together to build partnerships, create value, and achieve more together. Whether you're an agent looking to unlock new opportunities or an investor seeking the right partnerships, this is the place to learn, grow, and connect. This podcast is proudly sponsored by New Hampshire Homebuyers, a trusted leader in local house buying since 2017. With over 100 glowing reviews and a commitment to being local, fair, and trusted, New Hampshire Homebuyers helps homeowners throughout New Hampshire and Massachusetts sell their homes in any condition. Now, let's dive into the podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeremy Beland.
I'm Shelly.
That's my beautiful wife, Shelly. This is episode 11 of the Investor Agent Synergy Podcast. Mm-hmm. This is a recap of the first 10 episodes.
Yeah, because we've already finished 10 episodes.
My goodness, you
Fantastic.
have been busy. Can't believe how much you get done.
Me, yes.
Yeah, yes. No, but listen, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching and supporting this. You know, the whole goal of this podcast is to bring agents and investors together on a world of collaboration. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I will say, Shelly, that out of the guests that we had, I'm pleasantly surprised how many agents actually work with investors. I thought it was a lot less than there was. And my mind is starting opening up. Maybe because I had a preconceived notion of agents myself being an investor, but there's a lot of agents that actually work with investors in this space.
Yeah, there are. I think there are a lot more than we expected, and I don't know if it's because it's becoming more and more common because there are so many of us investors and flippers out there right now, or just like you said, that we had a little bit of a judgment on it too, as well.
Yeah, limited mindset.
But I think it's great because now both sides are coming together and finding more and more ways to work together. And as we know, once we work with an agent and it goes well, we want to do more deals, and the same goes both ways. They're wanting to do more deals with us. So
100%.
Yeah.
You know, one of the other things that I've noticed from the guests that we talked to is that I'm actually, again, this is all like pleasantly surprised, right? And I think it was episode 9 with Corey, and he was just talking about how much he went into the level of detail that he just helped people, right? The value that he was bringing to sellers. And we know agents solve problems and they provide a lot of value, but what he was doing really just was like very similar to what we do.
It really
right?
was.
And it rang home. And just to see that there's a lot of realtors out there doing that. I had no idea realtors went to that extreme to get deals done and to serve the sellers. It was quite amazing.
I was surprised too. I mean, right down to he and his wife going in and helping to organize and move things reminds me so much of when we were always in the house cleaning in the attic and carrying down old records for people and helping, even, our kids going and helping to pack up certain things, and just all the crazy stuff we've done of selling things off the property for them, cleanups, move out, all of this. But to hear that an agent is also doing something similar is really cool. But it just made me think how we could still bring value to agents and help them to do, if that's their goal is to help people as much as Corey is helping his clients, but maybe they don't have the time bandwidth or the financial bandwidth to be able to do it. If they could partner with us, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, because I don't think it's that the agents don't want to. It may just be a matter of they need some kind of help as well, not just the seller, right? Yep. They need help to achieve those things. So continuing to get ourselves out there and talking to these agents and letting them know if you need a guy who can help you sell that camper off the property or get pods financially and physically to the property and send some people to help pack them up, we can help with all those things.
Yeah, I guess it was just, again, me probably having a limited mindset, a preconceived notion. I always knew realtors provided value, but seeing the level of value that a lot of them do, which is a lot of what we do, right? I know it's very common in the real estate investing space. I know a lot of people think that as real estate investors, we're not out there providing a lot of value to the community, but you and I know firsthand, we've been in a lot of living rooms packing boxes and stuff like that over the years, right? And all kinds of things, and seeing realtors do that as well. And, we've been talking to a lot more realtors in this past 12 months, not outside of the podcast, but a lot of the broker presentations that we've been doing, and really, just understanding that, like, hey, we're all on the same page here. This is
Absolutely.
exactly what we wanted, right? The collaboration between agents and investors, but a majority of us are trying to achieve the same goal, and that's to provide value to the seller. They have problems, we can solve it. Now, some realtors may be able to solve all those problems themselves. Some investors like ourselves may be able to solve all those problems themselves. But there's a lot of times where the investor needs the agent needs the investor to come together to collaborate to get that situation resolved, that problem solved, and to help out the seller. And I think, like as you were just talking about, there's a lot of opportunity for agents and investors to work together more than I ever thought there was.
Truly, truly. And I think that sometimes, it's just like two heads are better than one. There's a problem there. And if we can come together and problem solve how we can work together to help these people out. You do this part, I'll do that part. Sometimes just having the team work together is going to make it possible when maybe the agent couldn't do it on their own, or maybe we couldn't do it on our own.
100%. In speaking of limited mindset, one of the things I think a lot of people struggle with, and this isn't just real estate agents, they do, but investors as well. We always feel like we're all competing over the same deals, right? It's just, especially in a world where there's low inventory, right? There's not enough properties to go around for everybody, right? But as we're talking to all these agents and we're seeing how many deals they're doing every single year, we know how many deals we're doing every single year. We know all the other local investors in our community, how many deals they're doing, and all of us combined are still not reaching everybody, right? It just goes to show you, we're not competing over the same deals. We need to be collaborating more to do more deals together, because if we collaborate, we can achieve more together than we can achieve individually.
Absolutely. And I mean, you could spend all this time doing 5 deals alone, or you can do those 5 deals alone, plus have 10 partnerships on the side that take less time because you are partnering together, and, monetize off all of those as well. I'd rather have that many, those things happening all day long.
And I feel like there's a lot of agents out there that, one of the things that we've seen a lot is a lot of agents want to work with investors, but one of the things that holds them back a lot is not the financing, which is a big one, and I would have thought that would have been number one. But the thing that holds them back the most is they're intimidated by investors.
Yeah, which is,
It seems to be a common theme.
It's definitely a common theme. And I think, too, like when you're really new in this business, myself included, you might have a different idea of what investor means, like the big bad investor, and they have like 500 doors, and who am I to talk to them? But it's like a lot of investors are just really similar to how we started out, which is just a mom and dad, a couple with kids that's trying to make a living, and we're like, okay, I guess we're going to try flipping a house. We don't even really know what we're doing in the beginning, but we're going to figure it out, and then we're going to flip 2 houses next year, 5 houses the next year, 10. But there's all different kinds of investors, and there's so many different deals out there and different deal structures and everything. So you can't be intimidated by it. You just have to talk to people. And
it's funny too, because when we first started out in this space, we were intimidated by investors as well, right? So you can relate to that.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I thought investors were just this other thing that I was not going to be, and I think there's so much education to be had just by going, to an investor meetup or talking to a group of investors that you don't even realize. I mean, when we first started out in this business, I'll be completely candid, I thought to flip a house, you had to fully have your own money, if you had a mortgage on your primary home, you also had to get another mortgage to buy the house you're going to flip, and somehow you just had $75,000 in the bank to rehab a property. I didn't even understand there were ways to use other people's money to flip houses. So I think, especially with like younger agents, just don't be intimidated by it, but just start asking questions and talking to investors, and you'll realize that it's not really that complicated, actually, once you start talking to people. There's a lot of big words out there, like the rent roll that I used to hate because I didn't really understand it. And all those words are like so intimidating. But then when you really just start talking to people about it and just ask, I don't understand that. What does that mean? And then you realize it's not as big, bad investor-ish as it really seems.
Right. And we know a lot of people that own a lot of doors too. And, sometimes it's just kind of a thing to, pat yourself on the back with, right? It's just kind of a milestone, but doesn't really give much relevance to like how much money they make or anything else. And what we realize is that, even with us, we talk about a lot of times. We have a lot of success. People see us as very, very successful in the space, but we're just very modest people living at home, living a modest life, right? Just
working at our kitchen island.
Yeah, with our family, right?
Yeah.
And most other investors the same way, because they have 200, 300 doors doesn't mean they have like this Fort Knox in town and security guards and everything else. And these just like these untouchables, like these CEOs of like billion-dollar businesses. They're not that way. They're just the everyday person you see at Dunkin' Donuts. Is no different than us, whether we're starting out or not. So those agents and ourselves in the space, when we're really intimidated in the beginning with these people who have more experience, they're the same people. It's just us 10 years down the road. But you know what I mean? There's like, there's our preconceived notion of what that person is not reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't want to like drill this point into the ground, but I think it's worth having this conversation because I think intimidation does stop a lot of people from trying new things in real estate or in investing or anything like that. But like when we've been in mastermind groups for real estate or I don't know what to call it, bigger training programs, whatever, when we've gone to some of these events, we're in a room with people who maybe have thousands of doors, who are flipping 400 houses a year. And then when you really listen to their stories, because everybody's kind of trying to like pick apart their own business and then get advice on how to move forward, you hear about the problems that they're having, and everyone's having the same problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they have 1,000 doors, but they're not cash flowing. They're actually negative, and they're freaking out because they don't know what to do. Or the people that are flipping 400 houses a year are over-leveraged, and they can't sell anything, and they're losing their minds on how to fire sale everything so they don't lose everything. So it's just like the same thing that people say about like, the biggest house in the neighborhood. They just have different problems. Nobody's just having it easy out there, and nobody just knows everything that they're doing. And it's totally the same in real estate investing. Everyone's just trying to figure it out. There's some very, very smart and savvy people out there, but mostly, I think people, have struggles, and when they do, those are like the people you want to talk to anyway, because they're going to give you the most education, and you're going to learn that you can do it, but also how to maybe avoid some of their mistakes.
Sure. So I think of like, the agents that we've talked to and the agents that they once were, or the agents that are part of the teams, a majority of agents actually not only do they want to work with investors, but a lot of them want to be investors themselves. They have those aspirations of owning apartment buildings and flipping and stuff like that. But like you said, they don't really know where to go, where to sign. That's where a lot of collaboration could come in. But a lot of times, again, this is probably me, I think I had more of a limited mindset than I realized, that a lot of agents didn't want to work with investors at all, had no interest in being investors, and just wanted nothing to do with that world because they liked the glam of real estate as whole. But that's probably me watching too much TV, and the local realtors that live near us, they're not like that at all, right? They again have the same dreams that we do. They're just taking a different approach.
And I think, I'm going to be super real, but I think it's from a few bad experiences. People have an idea of what, like sellers, they'll have maybe a bad idea of an investor that just wants to buy their house for cheap and only cares about the money, right? And that's because of a few bad companies out there.
Sure.
That's not everyone. That's certainly not us. I think it's the same thing about that, the way that maybe you came to have that feeling is like in the beginning, there were a few agents that treated us not in a nice way. And so it's easy to get burned that way and then feel like, okay, well, they obviously don't like investors. They don't like what we do. So they just don't want to work with us. And then over the years, as we started to have partnerships with agents and really connect with them, and things started working great together, and we continue to do deals together, we're like, wait a second, there is definitely a disconnect here, and that's why we're having this podcast. That's why we're partnering up with so many different agents right now, is because we're realizing that we can all work together. And
I have been myself learning through this experience. My eyes have been opening up throughout this experience as well, and I hope, as much as I thought we came into this pretty open-minded, that there was a difference between the agent and the investor, and there needs to be a need to bring the synergy together, right? Hence the name of the podcast, the goal of the podcast, bring this collaboration together. I think I didn't realize how much more of people really wanted to do that. And I still think there's a lot of people out there that are still missing the boat. And I hope that we can reach them, because I've been in the space a long time. You've been in the space a long time. And even though I felt like we were already collaborating a lot with realtors, I'm like, over the last 9-10 weeks recording this, I'm like, wow, there's even more realtors doing more great things that I wish we were working with right along, because they're the type of people we want to be collaborating with anyway, right? And there's probably a lot of investors like us that are missing the boat, working with great people like that and providing value and monetizing off of it. And there's a lot of agents who aren't having the ability to work with great people like ourselves that are missing out on that opportunity to solve people's problems, provide value, and monetize off it. So I hope as we continue to build this, more people like myself are out there listening, watching, saying, you know what? I need to get rid of my limited mindset, my preconceived notions, and I need to start having more of an open mind, working with some of these people, because we may be able to accomplish a lot more together.
Yeah. And to kind of piggyback off that, I felt like a theme today, and really through the podcasts that we've done so far with some of the people that we've talked to, is like the importance of connecting with people and as agents and working with their clients. But in this situation too, it's just about that connection. Like, if you want to work with an investor, and it's just that word, like investor, I'm just going to go find an investor, that doesn't really mean anything. But if you come in and talk to us and we click, and we're like, oh my gosh, of course, I just met 10 people that I definitely want to work with and I want to collaborate with. So I'm getting excited about this podcast because I feel like that's how it's going to happen, is when we talk in person and we instantly connect and we're like, of course I want to find a way to do a deal with you. That's what happens. So it just gets me excited, because I think that was the whole point of this, is to bring people together, and that's the way that you connect.
And one of the things we saw from other agents that we've had on this podcast as guests, the theme that they say for the agents who are interested in working with investors are really, they just need to get out there, right? They need to be going to a lot of the local investor meetups. And if you go to anywhere where you live, there's a bunch of them every month in your area. And as intimidating they are, just overcome that fear, because at the end of the day, nobody's intimidating. And honestly, most of the people that you see in those, you're probably more successful than them anyway, so don't worry about that. But go there, introduce yourself, start to build those relationships. And I think with investors, it gets a little tougher to collaborate with agents on a large scale. So some of the things that they could do is like maybe just kind of like I think what the Childs do, right? They host a local meetup and invite agents in. You can just offer some lunch and coffee and share some stories and collaboration. So if you could host something like that from an investor side, you can build some relationships. And from an agent's, well, they're lucky, because investors have all these local meetups all the time, right? You should go to them. But
definitely go to them.
Both sides need to be getting out more. And we know, as an investor, it's very lonely. We get caught up in our own little world. Sometimes we don't even leave our living room unless we're going to visit houses, right? Kidding. And then agents are probably the same. Outside of just serving the clients, they're probably back in their offices, and they're not getting out there networking enough. So I think one of the things that we can all do together, outside of listening to this amazing podcast, is to make sure that we're getting out there and networking more with investors to realtors, realtors to investors.
And I would say, if you're nervous to go to an investor meetup locally in the New Hampshire, Mass area, Jeremy speaks a lot at the Mass and New Hampshire RIAs. There's tons of them, and just reach out to us. We'll tell you when they are, tell you when he's speaking, or if we're available, we'll go with you. If you want someone to go with, we'd love to connect and go to a meeting. I mean, I think sometimes it's just as simple as that. It's like people don't, it's like high school. Like nobody just wants to walk into a room where they're not sure what it's going to be like. So we'd be happy to go with anybody who wanted to go. Or like I said, Jeremy's probably speaking at it sometime soon if it's local. So reach out to us and we'll let you know.
And that's what it makes me think of.
That's what I feel like when I go to those.
The middle school dance. They're like, the girls on this side, the boys on this side. Who's going to have the courage to say something?
People are shy at first, and the best ones are the ones that make you feel super welcome, and then everybody kind of opens up. I've definitely noticed that. So
that's great advice.
Yeah.
And I will also say, anybody listening, watching this, whether you're an agent or investor, feel free to reach out to me and Shelly. We'll take the time to talk to you all day, every day, to provide value, provide guidance, connect with you, help lead you in the right direction. So if you're afraid to make that initial step, then just reach out to us. That one you can do in the safety of your own home without any fear, and we'll make sure it's a good one.
And I don't know if this is a good time to say it, but they could also join the REI Freedom page, right?
Well, yeah, they should.
So we have our REI Freedom community.
Yeah.
It's a community of aspiring investors, experienced investors, all different levels of investors on Facebook, and everybody comes together to just talk about deals.
Yeah, we have a lot of agents
questions,
in there too.
Get motivation. We have tons of investors, agents, everyone. It's a really, really nice group to kind of like dip your feet in the water. And we also host weekly, not masterminds, presentations with different speakers on all different topics. Master classes that are really interesting too. And they're pretty interactive at times, so you can ask questions during them and everything.
100%.
Yeah.
So as we...
It's kind of like an online RIA, honestly. If you
Yeah.
can't get out, because I understand that too. Like we have kid obligations. The ones we don't go to
Dang
is because
kids.
we have the kids, stuff going on with the kids. But if you can jump on to like a 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, that's easy.
You can listen to yours truly if
That's
you don't get
right.
sick of them already. All right. So as we wrap up here at episode 11, which is super fun and exciting, is there anything that you can think of that you've thought of over the last 10 weeks, 11 weeks of recording this, that is just one more thing you want to bring to the table? Anything that like any aha moment, any like I was surprised with that? Do you feel like we covered them all?
Surprised. I always go back to this. I probably said it a million times, so I'm just surprised that some people don't realize that you can do almost anything to help a seller move along. So like no matter what the weird issue is at the house, you can't ever get into the house, or there's some crazy thing, the astigmatized house where something bad happened and you're like, I could never take that listing because people know something bad about that house. Like there's just probably no reason why an investor or the right investor won't be able to help you with that property. So if you're an agent and you come across stuff like that, find an investor, because if they're savvy enough, they'll be able to help you work through that issue, and you can work through it together.
I agree. Well, that's a great way to end this episode, honey. Thank you so much. So I guess for now, we're done episode 11. We're on to episode 12.
Very exciting. Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this podcast. We will see you on episode 12 next week. Until then, you have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with others who could benefit from stronger partnerships in real estate. And a big thank you to our awesome sponsor, New Hampshire Home Buyers, helping homeowners with fair professional solutions since 2017. For more information about New Hampshire Home Buyers, how they can help you or someone you know, please go visit nhomebuyers.net. Until next time, remember, success in real estate is better together. See you on the next episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast.